Who will be the world's most famous scientist in 2026? Hi, I'm David Stagg, a retired lawyer and chairman of BRLP Australia. I predict it will be Dr. Randall Lee Mills, the genius polymath founder of Brilliant Light Power Incorporated of Philadelphia. Why? How, I hear you ask? Because over the last 34 years, Dr. Mills, working with a small team of scientists, has solved the world's energy problem.
3, 2, 1, ignition.
Dr. Mills has invented the Suncell, a soon-to-be-released revolutionary technology that produces safe, cheap, reliable electricity using only water as fuel by catalysing the hydrogen in water to produce a brilliant light, just like sunlight. It can be converted into electricity using existing solar panel technology, only much more efficient than domestic solar panels. Let me tell you a little about Dr. Mills. After being raised on a farm in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, he studied chemistry at Franklin and Marshall College, where he graduated summa cum laude Pi Beta Kappa, the top chemistry student in all America in 1984. Mills then enrolled at Harvard Medical School, which he largely completed in 3 years. In his nominal fourth year, he enrolled at MIT to study electrical engineering. Dr. Mills worked under Professor Herman House, who was designing free electron lasers for President Ronald Reagan's SDI program, or Star Wars as the media called it. That's when Dr. Mills decided to research the history of quantum mechanics. He discovered that it was based on a false assumption and was wrong. So why have you never heard of Dr. Mills and his Suncell? The short answer is that quantum mechanics theory, accepted now for just on 100 years, says that Dr. Mills' Suncell shouldn't work. The full answer can be found in the 2 books that have been written about him. The first, America's Newton, was written by a mathematician, Thomas Stolfer, and published in 2008. Let me quote, "Mills' achievements were so incredible that few believed them. He made fundamental advances in science, but he didn't have the usual credentials." The second book by Brett Halverstadt, Randall Mills and the Search for Hydrino Energy, was first published in 2016, with a second edition now due. When in 1991 Dr. Mills said that quantum mechanics was wrong, the mainstream physics community ridiculed him and called him a fraud. They said that what he claimed to be doing was impossible. That is exactly what the top scientists said about aeroplanes only 8 years before the Wright brothers flew at Kitty Hawk in 1903. Because the scientific community is adamant that Dr. Mills' Suncell breaks the accepted laws of quantum mechanics and is impossible, the media have largely ignored Dr. Mills and his work. And the Wikipedia entry on Dr. Mills implies that he is a crank and his theory nonsense. Let me explain the central issue. It's really not difficult to understand. In 1897, an English physicist, J.J. Thomson, discovered that atoms were made of positive and negative charges. Scientists knew that opposite charges attract. Then it was discovered that they were separated. The question was, what force kept them separated and why were atoms stable? The classical laws of physics did not appear to give it the answer. Quantum mechanics was invented in the early 20th century by the world's top scientists, including Niels Bohr, Werner Heisenberg, and Erwin Schrödinger, to try to answer that question. Niels Bohr proposed the planetary model of the atom that we're all familiar with. It assumed that the lighter electron was a tiny point of charge orbiting the heavier proton at a fixed radius that became known as the Bohr radius. Bohr calculated that the centrifugal force would balance the force of attraction provided the electron did not fall below the Bohr radius, which also became known as the ground state of hydrogen. But this model was contrary to Maxwell's laws, which said that a point charge in orbit must radiate energy, which would cause it to spiral into the proton. So the question as to the true nature of the electron remained unanswered. Erwin Schrödinger proposed that the electron behaved both as a wave and a particle, but agreed that they could not drop below the ground state, which he said was the lowest energy level of the electron. Despite Albert Einstein never accepting quantum mechanics, it became accepted theory and has been the foundation of atomic physics now for just on a century. Dr. Mill's calculations told him that the electron was neither a point of charge as Niels Bohr had proposed, nor a wave particle as Erwin Schrödinger had proposed, but physically was an orbit sphere of charge that completely surrounded the proton. And this model was consistent with Maxwell's and Newton's classical laws of physics and Einstein's special and general relativity. It unified all of the forces of nature into a coherent classical framework. That changed everything. In 1991, when Dr. Mills said quantum theory was wrong, he was laughed at, then called a fraud, and his theory ridiculed. But in 2024, physics Nobel laureate Sir Roger Penrose, who collaborated with Stephen Hawking, agreed.
Quantum theory as a whole is wrong. It's not Einstein was wrong. Quantum mechanics is wrong. Now, I say this very blatantly because it's a blatant topic. I mean, Einstein and Schrödinger were much more polite. They said it was incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Incomplete means wrong.
Well, you're telling it like it is.
Yeah, you've got to change it so it's wrong. But incomplete is a more polite way of saying it's wrong.
Dr. Mill's calculations predicted that the electron orbit sphere could be induced to shrink in many stages below the Bohr radius or ground state and release a previously undiscovered source of energy in the form of heat and light. The process is called catalyzation. Dr. Mills called the resulting smaller hydrogen atom anhydrino, and the energy released hydrino energy. He found that the hydrino energy sits between chemical and nuclear energy. It was a world-changing discovery. When Dr. Mills published the first edition of his Grand Unified Theory of Classical Physics in 1995, he predicted that the natural release of hydrino energy by stars would cause the expansion of the universe to accelerate. His prediction was laughed at by astronomers and cosmologists. But scientific theories are validated when they make accurate predictions. Dr. Mill's prediction of the accelerating expansion of the universe was unexpectedly confirmed by 3 astronomers in 1998. They shared a Nobel Prize for showing, by observation, that it was accelerating, just as Dr. Mills had predicted when they had expected it to be slowing down. And Dr. Mill's prediction also explained the mysterious dark matter that astronomers had discovered earlier. He said dark matter was simply the smaller hydrogen atom he called hydrino, left after the release of hydrino energy, what astronomers called dark energy. Dr. Mills had solved the biggest problems in modern cosmology. But the scientific community still refused to believe that Dr. Mill's theory was right. Why was that? According to Thomas Stolfer, the mainstream physics establishment simply could not accept that Dr. Mills was right and quantum theory was wrong. In fact, Stolfer shows that they effectively cancelled him by preventing him publishing the 100 research papers he had authored or co-authored, setting out the evidence in the top scientific journals. It is a monumental scientific scandal that will be talked about for years. And that is why so very few people have heard of Dr. Mills or his 34 years of hard work. But that is all about to change. As soon as Dr. Mills completes the commercial packaging of his Suncell and demonstrates it to the public, it will change the world. Dr. Mills will be more famous than Albert Einstein. It can't come soon enough. Thanks for watching.